What's going on, everybody? So now that the football season is here, I can officially say that we will now have Browns After Dark Sunday night, Monday night, and if that is not enough for you, we got another one on Thursday. So if you've ever said to yourself, hey, I wonder where I can meet with people and talk about the Browns, that is the place for you. Check us out at Browns After Dark on Twitter. The link will be in the description down below. Times will also be posted on that Twitter page, so be sure to give us a follow, turn on your notifications, and come let us know what you think. We want to know your thoughts, so I'm looking forward to seeing you there. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Browns Beat Podcast. So I know a lot of people like the lives, right? I've already gotten a couple of people that said, hey, the lives are awesome. So me and Tristan were talking. We're going to do more lives, but we also have our own podcast. So we're gonna do this with just me and Tristan. We're gonna get our conversations out, and then we'll find someday to have the wild stuff when not anybody, but you get what I'm saying. You never know who's gonna show up.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
The goal of it is we have our podcast where we have our thoughts that we share, and then pretty much we do podcasts where we get everybody involved, where everybody gets to speak, where they, a true Browns therapy session, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the goal. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the podcast definitely has been a lot of fun for me. I'm pretty sure Derek's been having a good time with it too. And the lives have been absolutely amazing, especially the last one. And if you were tuning into this and you didn't see the last live, just skip to like an hour in and you'll be like, what the hell is going on here?
It was like 2 hours, 15 minutes or something. And it was just wild.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, take a minute, go ahead and watch one of those. And if you see the notification for DF, turn on those notifications. And if you see a notification for going live, join, because it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And
by the way,
back and forth.
couple things before we get into the podcast here today. So it's weird in this sort of universe that I now have found a home in, doing what we do here. People call me DF, right? And I don't know. I always think it's weird for me because I'm used to be calling Frisbee, because that's just what people tend to call me. And I was at Chick-fil-A, and lady comes out. I ordered online, and she goes, pick up order for DF. And I'm like, what? I was like, I definitely didn't put that as my name. Huh? What? I don't know. But so that was the one thing. I don't know, random comment. I don't know. But
yeah, right.
Second thing, I wanted to give a shout out because I did get to meet somebody who is in a lot of the lives, and I've talked to this fella before. But the first time we ever met in person, Coach Wilson, shout out to Coach Wilson. He came into my work, said, what's up? Great dude. Awesome. Known him for a little bit now, not too long, but it was cool to meet him. So he is now on Twitter. So if you guys follow me or Tristan on Twitter and you're Browns fans, give Coach Wilson a follow. He's a great dude, Browns fan. He was way more optimistic than I was. We sat and talked for like 2 hours while I worked, killed the rest of my day. So, had a little bit of a Browns therapy at work. So I think that's it for me as far as the pre-podcast stuff. So with that being said, we got a couple things on deck for you today. And we're going to review the Ravens game because we've not done that yet. We're going to talk about the Bengals game, and we have some other tidbits. But there's some news out of NFL land, whatever you want to call it, that the Browns have a couple players potentially on the trade block, one being Kareem Hunt, the other being Greedy Williams, some Jack Conklin thrown out there, some John Johnson thrown out there. Tristan, what is your thoughts on the trade rumors? Do you think anything's going to get done? And if you do, who do you think's most likely?
I would say the Browns definitely, in my opinion, no matter what, are going to end up making moves, whether that's cutting players, whether it's trading players. I just have a feeling like they're going to do something. And I think a Kareem Hunt deal is bound to happen. I think that I think it's almost like written on the wall. Like it's going to happen. I think it's probably going to be the Rams, but who knows? I mean, there might be a team that one of their running backs goes down, and now all of a sudden they need a running back, and Kareem Hunt's available for a 4th-round pick. So I think that he is probably my most likely trade candidate. I think Greedy Williams will probably be next, just because I think a lot of teams look at Greedy and they say, you know what, he's a guy where if we had an injury on the boundary, he's a guy that could step in, and he might not be perfect, he might not be great, but he'll give me better than what I could get off of my practice squad or other guys that are lower on my depth chart. So I think he could fetch like a 6th or a 7th. He's not going to fetch much at all. Jack Conklin's a very interesting one. He's one that I think a lot of teams should be in on, just because, I mean, he's a really solid right tackle. His big issue is he can't stay healthy. And so for me, when I look at Jack Conklin, I tend to think that with him, I think more teams should be interested in him than there currently is. I could see the Jets being a great landing spot for him. I think the Jets need help on that offensive line, and for as well as they've been playing, they have a shot, a true playoff shot. There's a few other teams in there too that I think he could make a lot of sense for. John Johnson, I think that's more so us Browns fans being optimistic that it gets done. Like, if I'm being honest, I think, and this is no offense to John Johnson, because when we get into the Ravens game, I'm gonna have some pretty strong opinions towards somebody in our secondary, one particular person, and if you took a guess at who it might be, you probably will know.
Is it a little bit obvious?
Yeah, just a little, but yeah. I mean, for me, John Johnson, if it wasn't for his cap number being as high as it is, I think that people would not care about how he's been performing. It's just the fact that what he's getting paid to do, in the production he's gotten at that point, it's just not good enough. So yeah, I mean, if he ends up finding if we end up finding a trade partner for him, great. But I'm fully expecting us to just release him in the offseason.
Wow.
Just me personally. But Derek, I mean, what thoughts do you have? I mean, start off with Kareem Hunt, man. I mean, he's been, him and Nick Chubb are great friends. They're great at running the ball together. But this year, it's kind of been more of the Nick Chubb show. I mean, how would you feel about Kareem Hunt being traded?
Well, there's two things. I think a lot of people need to understand what his worth is, because we saw James Robinson get traded. Actually, we were live. I'm pretty sure we were live, right, when he was traded.
No, we had just ended our live, and then he got traded, because I remember you texting me, like, of course, a trade happens right after we get off of our 2.5 hour live, and that whole time period, they couldn't drop that news. Come on now.
Oh, no, that was Christian McCaffrey. That was McCaffrey.
Oh, yeah, that was Christian McCaffrey. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, Robinson was traded when we were live. There was somebody. I couldn't remember.
I can't remember, yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, so Robinson got traded for a conditional 6th-round draft pick. James Robinson is not a bad running back at all. So for a 6th, that is great value, in my opinion. And I've heard a lot of people I respect and know what they talk about come out and say that we're going to get a 2nd or even possibly more for Kareem. And I'm just like, I'll be happy to get a 4th because of the value that running back is. It's just not a highly valued position anymore. So that's first things first. You're not going to get anything crazy. I think it would be a miracle if we got a 3rd, and it would be a low 3rd, but it would be great. I would love to add another 3rd-round pick to this draft. With that being said, I do think he is the most likely to be traded, and it's unfortunate because I want to see what Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt can do with Deshaun Watson, especially Kareem Hunt, because that RPO, I mean, that I just want to see it. Just let me see it for a couple weeks. I know we're not going to win anything this year, but like, just give me that satisfaction of at least seeing what it could have looked like. But I don't think we will. I think, like you said, you're going to have a deal with somebody. I heard the Eagles. If the Philadelphia Eagles get Kareem Hunt, oh my gosh, Super Bowl. I mean, Super Bowl. So go
Howie
ahead.
Roseman. Yeah, no, Howie Roseman's just a fantastic GM. I mean, like, he built a Super Bowl team, had to deconstruct it because the quarterback completely sucked, which by the way, you got a first rounder for that quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And that pick is going to be like top 10 this year because the Colts suck. They suck. They're bad. I mean, we're bad. The Colts like they're bad. But I don't know, as though I'd say about the same level, actually. Same level of bad. But yeah, no, Howie Roseman's a great GM. And Kareem Hunt going to the Eagles definitely would be interesting. I think for sure.
It would be insane.
It
It
would be
would be
fun.
insane with
It would be
Jalen.
fun.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But
Yeah.
Kareem, you're not going to get a ton for. So first things first there.
Yeah.
Secondly, Greedy Williams. I find it very interesting that it's being reported that a lot of teams have interest in Greedy because, if you guys know me, I was a huge Greedy Williams fan. I wanted us to get him no matter what. I mean, this was a guy who's supposed to be at one point a mid to late-ish first round pick, and more so at one point like 10-ish around there. So we end up getting him in the second round, and I'm like, this is a steal. I essentially thought he was like what Greg Newsome was last year for us. So Greedy, like you said, has been hurt throughout his entire career. He's shown flashes of being good, but he's nowhere near what I thought he was. Now, with that being said, I think he could be better in a different scheme. So I do see that, and I see the upside there. But I think we maybe get a fifth for Greedy. Maybe. I don't know. Um, John Johnson, I don't think we're going to trade him as much as I would like to. I just don't see that. I kind of agree with you there. Conklin is an interesting one because does he have a year left on his contract, or is it this year that it's up?
It's the end of this year, I believe. Although,
Okay.
because I know they did a restructure, I can't remember if it's up this year or what. I can't remember. I'm truly struggling. Because he originally signed for us on a 3-year deal, but then I want to say they restructured it and added a year, so that way it like spread it out the money evenly. But I
think
could
we
be
can.
wrong.
I think what it is we can get out of it this year.
Yeah, I think it's like a team option or something. I don't know. It's contract stuff's so difficult. It's a headache. But
especially with Andrew Berry because he pushes everything down the road so much. But
yeah,
regardless, I don't think Jack Conklin's going to be traded. I don't see that happening. Do we need to address that spot long term? Yes, we do. Yes, we absolutely do.
Well, I would say this. I would say I think James Hudson's been decent enough where I think next year you give him that spot and you say earn it and fight for it. I mean, Harris was given the opportunity this year, but unfortunately he got injured so early on. But Pocic has been fine. I mean, I mean, it's a center spot, so it's really hard to be noticeably terrible. But he's been okay. I mean, off the top of my head, I know there's one play. There was a fourth down, like in one play where Jacoby, I think, was going to do a handoff, and we were doing like an outside zone to the right, and Batonio pulled, and Pocic, instead of blocking the guy that was right in front of him, he looked to the left. And then there was like an opening and somebody shot through and it was his guy. So, but that's the only thing I can think of where I looked at his play and I said, oh yeah, no. But I mean, it's a center in the league. If you're league average at center, there's minimal difference between the best and middle of the pack centers. So.
And center's such to your point, you become effective as a run blocking center, not a pass blocking center. Anybody can, not anybody, but if you're decent as a pass blocker at the center position and you're great at run blocking, you're going to be a great center. Like that's just how it works.
Yeah, if you're a good pass blocking center, then you should be a guard. It's just,
Well, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're good in pass protection as an offensive lineman, you're playing either guard or tackle. It depends on how good of a run blocker you are and
Mhm.
how good of a pass blocker you are, and which position you play.
Well, it's in reverse too. I mean, there's been plenty of guys, especially at Ohio State that I've seen who's been like really good, or not really good guard. Actually, there's a couple. There's a couple guys who played guard at Ohio State and went to the league and has been playing center a little bit. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong. I don't know. You get the point. Whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But anyway, long story short, with these trade rumors, I think Hunt gets done. Greedy, I tend to think that's not going to be done, just because I think that's a position that they want to keep. Maybe not extend him long term. Obviously, not long term, but they do. I believe they have another year of control on Greedy, and I would say more so that would be an off-season move if they feel comfortable replacing him with somebody else.
I think this is the last year of his deal.
Is this the last year of his deal? Well,
Yeah,
he was
because
2019.
he was 2019, the year that we got OBJ, because we didn't have a
Mhm.
first round pick that year. Or
Yeah,
no, that
he was
was
our first
or was
pick.
that Delpit? No, that was Delpit.
No,
Yeah, because
wait, hold on a
yeah,
second.
no, I'm losing my mind. I think the year that we got OBJ, I think we got Delpit. The year before
No,
was the year we got Greedy. I think.
Delpit was 2020 because the Delpit year was Jedrick Wills, Grant Delpit,
Yes, that's
Jordan
right.
Elliott.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Greedy was the year before with OBJ.
Yes.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
that's right. Because Greedy came out and said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna win the Super Bowl."
Hmm.
When he got drafted. Greedy, I love your
Worked out
optimism, man.
great.
Worked.
That one worked out perfect,
Beautiful
right?
quote. Beautiful quote. Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, but yeah, man, how the tables turned. Wow. Yeah. But yeah, this is the last year of Greedy's deal because
Okay.
yeah, it was a second round pick, so it would he would have had a fifth year option. So
Yeah.
yeah, he would have had a fifth year option. But
If he was the first, yeah.
yeah, because if you think about it, coming up on the end of this year's Jedrick Wills' fifth year option
Mhm.
that I don't see us picking up. So
I don't know, Jack Duffin. Did you see the tweet from Jack Duffin?
I've seen a few of Jack Duffin's tweets. In statistically speaking, Jedrick Wills, he's been solid. Like he's been good.
No, Jedrick
But
Wills sucks. He's
yeah.
awful.
Oh really?
I love Jedrick Wills coming out. I think he sucks, dude. I've
Yeah.
been so disappointed.
No, I'm saying like statistically speaking.
Mhm.
The statistics like PFF I think has him rated as like the
Yeah, he's like,
10th best tackle or something like that.
yeah.
Like he's
Oh,
up there.
he's good in the pass rush
Pass rush win
win
rate.
rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I watch the TV and I see his fat ass standing around when the defensive end is making Jacoby try to be Michael Vick. Like, throw your stats at me all you want. Like, there's just, and this is kind of my problem with the Browns. Some things are an eye test.
Yeah.
The defensive tackle room, the linebacker room is an eye test. You look at it and say, oh, the numbers might say this, but what I see there is not good.
Yeah.
And we just did not do that at all with, or I totally forgot what I was saying. You get the point. Jedrick Wills sucks. That's my main point.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, and I can, for me the big thing with Jedrick Wills is just an effort thing. Like it just, to me, when he's out there, it's like I look at him and it doesn't look like he's given 100%. You know, like whenever he's like behind a step, he just gives up. Like that's what it looks like to me. Like I would rather him embarrass himself and get mauled over, and just genuinely like look terrible like that way, than just see him give up after a guy beats him with one step. And that to me, that's what it looks like he does. So obviously, I'm not an offensive lineman connoisseur of sorts, but like that's just what it looks like to me.
It is effort. It's effort. It's clear. And when you watch the tape, there'll be times. Let me put it to you this way: when he's challenged, he gives up. When it's easy for him, he's great. That's why the numbers are what they are.
Yeah.
And it sucks because he's a nasty dude. Go watch his tape at Alabama when he's run blocking. Oh my gosh, he's nasty. That's what I thought we were getting. Thought we were getting somebody with fire, but no, we got a bitch for a left tackle.
Damn, that's a good
That's
quote.
what he is. I mean,
That's a
tell
quote.
me I'm wrong.
Wow.
He is. He listen, when you play the game of football, you can't be out here walking around. Like, there's a reason. Like, everybody hates the coaches who are like super hard on you, right? And everybody laughs at the Dan Campbells of the world. But guess what? Those guys understand that in between the not 50-yard line, but in between, the lines on the football field, you got to give everything. Jedrick Wills doesn't understand that. And for a Nick Saban offensive tackle to be this lazy and not care, Nick Saban should be ashamed of himself. That or Callahan has just lost all of his mojo, which I don't think it's that.
Well, no, because he turned Wyatt Teller into the second best right guard in the league. Arguably best, but Zach Martin's just Zach Martin. So it's like, you can't like definitively say he's the best. But like, no, it's not Bill Callahan. Bill Callahan coached up James Hudson from a 5th round right tackle, like a 5th round
former
tackle,
defensive tackle at Cincinnati or at Michigan.
Yeah, like coached him up from like, and to the point where now it's like James Hudson. Like, I feel pretty solid about him being our starting right tackle next year. I mean, no like strong feelings about it. It's more of like a wait and see thing. But
I feel better that's for who's under center.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not as important of a position. No offense to centers, but like, it's
no. I mean, because Deshaun's a quarterback, he'll get the ball out.
Yeah,
like you don't have to worry about. No offense, Jacoby. But
who's under center? Yes. I get you. Yeah.
Did I say who's center?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Never mind.
Yeah. No, it's fine. But
whatever. Y'all get the point.
Yeah. It's a stressful Browns week, so it's okay to misspeak.
Damn.
So let's get into this game, man.
I was gonna say let's move on. So with that being said, this is the part of the podcast where Tristan talks, because long story short, similar to the 2022 NFL draft, I fell asleep and I missed the entire thing. So basically, I wasn't even up late the night before. I was just super tired, got home from church, and I watched us go up 7-3, fell asleep, woke up, knew as soon as my eyes opened, I was like, we're going to be losing this game. I looked up at the TV, and it was right before Kareem Hunt scored, and of course we were losing. So that's what I saw. So I can only talk about the 7-3 and the disaster at the end. So with that being said, Tristan, this is now your podcast. Tell me what you thought of the Ravens game.
Yeah. First things first, I want to start with the defense. Defensively, this was the best performance the defense has had all year. Only because Derek fell asleep. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
when he woke back up, they were like, "Oh, it's our time to shine, baby." No, I'm just kidding. But no, so like defensively speaking, this was the best game we'd seen out of the Browns all year. It was a lot of everything that we wanted. It was a lot of blitzing. Lamar never really got too comfortable to the point where like he was cooking us through the air. Lamar had his moments, like he always does. He will always have his moments every game, no matter who he's playing. He's going to have his moments where he just frustrates you. That's just the player he is. And when I look at how the defense played, the blitzing, like the linebacking core stepped up a lot more, and it was a lot better.
How was Deion Jones? I was
Deion Jones. I didn't really know. It's the same thing as Anthony Walker. I didn't really notice him much, and when I did notice him, it wasn't like he was terrible. Like he was good. Like he was solid. It felt like there was some stability in that linebacking group, and it felt like how it was under Anthony Walker, where it's like, I can trust that, the linebacking core isn't going to be absolutely murdered. Like that was for me the big thing was there was stability there. And what also helped the stability in the linebacking group was the blitzing. I mean, we have such athletic linebackers like JOK, like Jacob Phillips. Like there were a lot of plays being made by those linebackers on the blitzes. And even Sione Taki. I mean, he had a great game for me. Every time I saw him, he was making tackles. Like he was finishing his tackles. He wasn't like missing any. Like pass defense wise, I thought he was solid. Like he had a good game. I really liked how he looked. And linebacking group as a whole, like I said, looked great. Even JOK always does well against Lamar Jackson. It's such a weird thing, but
that's why we drafted him.
Yeah, right. So the D line, edge rushers did their thing, man. I mean, Myles Garrett, he had a great day. I mean, it was genuinely a great day for the defensive front. My only group that I would say I was disappointed in along the front was the tackles. But even then, they made plays here and there, which we have guys that are capable of doing that. We just don't have guys that are capable of being consistently great at run defense. And you could tell when the Ravens started running it up the middle more, it became a problem. And that's an issue. Is teams now know that they can run right up the middle on us, and there's nothing we can do about it. Just because we don't have a middle linebacker like Anthony Walker anymore, who's a true downhill thumper, guy who, like, if a running back gets between the tackles, a guy who's going to punish you. We don't have that guy anymore, which sucks. But hopefully it opens AB's eyes into the position that we need most, like the most help at, which is that D tackle spot. The secondary corners, I thought were good. I thought were very good. I thought that they did their job and they did it fairly well. The safeties, John Johnson, pretty much unnoticeable. That's
till
fine.
The end.
Yeah, till the end. The guy who I hinted at, Grant Delpit, man. I mean, we've said for weeks that we wanted to see Joe Woods blitz more and play more man. Well, the issue is you can't play man all the time. You have to run some zone. You have to. And whenever we ran zone on multiple occasions, Grant Delpit was the odd man out in zone coverage. And as a safety, you would imagine that he would know where he's supposed to be in zone coverage, and it almost is like he never is. And it's like, it's so disappointing because it's like, dude, this is your rookie year. You were hurt the entire year. Your second year, you came in and you showed some promise. You looked great. How is it that you dropped off this hard, man? I mean, and I this year have fully deflected onto Joe Woods because I can't trust Joe Woods' coaching. And, even though I felt like he called a good game, I still feel like I can't trust his coaching just because of what I've seen up to this point. I mean, Grant, come on, man. Come on. Like, the whole defense is looking much, much better. Like, that game, everybody looks so much better. John Johnson, there were a few plays where effort was a question mark. Grant Delpit, it's just like it's like he doesn't know the playbook. It's like he doesn't know where he's supposed to be on the field out there. And it's just like, for a guy who I feel like has all the potential in the world to be one of the best strong safeties in the league, it's so disappointing and so disheartening to see how much he's fallen off this year. Like, it's terrible. And it's gotten to a point now where Derek, I know I said on our last live, and I said the past couple of podcasts we've done, like, hey, John Johnson, he might be a guy that we look to cut. If Grant Delpit doesn't turn it around, I don't think we can cut him. I really don't, because John Johnson, you at least know that you're going to get league average safety play at that strong safety spot if he's there. And he's going to provide you at least something where it's like, I can look at this and I can say he has value in it. if Grant Delpit doesn't step it up, we can't trust that he will improve next year if we just switch defensive coordinators, because it's showing that there are players that are having terrible games and then they're having great games. Grant Delpit, like, he hasn't had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even in weeks 1 and 2, when I said, like, hey, he looks great, he looks like he's all over the place, I was saying, but he had a few busted coverages and he's got to clean it up, and he hasn't cleaned it up. And so it's just like, oh my gosh, dude, he's got a great opportunity to be on one of the, I shouldn't say best teams in the NFL. When Deshaun starts playing on offense, I feel like the offense is going to be one of the best offenses in the NFL. In the defense, I mean, you've got a lot of really good players around you. You have an opportunity to really step up and pretty much be that main guy the next 2 years at that strong safety spot. And we probably won't have the money to keep you. But if you do really well, you will make a lot of money. He could be like John Johnson. He could.
Well, I was just about to say, I think what I'm kind of, and I knew this, but I think you're starting to see it and more fans are starting to realize it. We have 3 strong safeties and we're playing one of them at free safety.
No, it's brutal. And it's like, in some ways I feel bad for Grant, because it's like, hey, listen, there definitely is a coaching issue here, but it's also a matter of, even if you are in a bad position, like as far as like coaching goes, you should not be looking this bad. And he still is. So, but I agree with you, Derek. I mean, we definitely need to add some free safeties onto the roster. I gave my input on Eddie Jackson last week. I think he would be the perfect guy to bring in. Because I just think he just is so well-rounded, and I think his instincts are there still. And I really, really like the player that's there. But, man, it's just like, I want to see more out of Grant, man. I want to see more, and I expect more out of him.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would say, what are your thoughts? But I guess we should say, what are your thoughts?
We can talk about the very, very end. So I did see that. First of all, the offensive pass interference, was it offensive pass interference? Yes. Yes, it was. But with that being said, they were fighting back and forth on the whole route. So to call that is very ticky-tacky. It may not have been a ticky-tacky offensive pass interference. That's not what I'm saying. But when you have your corner and your receiver fighting the whole route, and then at the very end, there's a little bit of a push off, 9 times out of 10, that's not called. So do I think there is a little bit of BS in that call? Yes, I do. But at the same time, it was offensive pass interference. And then the false start at the end, I'd completely disagree with. I know there's people on Twitter saying, oh, the ball moved. Well, guess what, pal? A center is allowed to adjust a football. Like, maybe I need to go back and rewatch it because I haven't seen it in a week and change, or no, a week, because today's Sunday. But what I saw was not a false start at all. And that's what's disappointing to me is, yet again, Cade York doesn't even get a chance. So that was my thoughts on the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
all 2 minutes that I saw.
Yeah, right. No, as far as the offensive pass interference call, honestly, I did not mind it. I completely understood. When you're in that position as a receiver, I feel like you have to trust, even if you feel like you were getting grabbed and pulled, you have to know, like, okay, you know what? I have to trust the ref to see this. I can't retaliate with a penalty, or it's going to put my team back, because that's what it did. It put us out of field goal range. And ultimately, the crazy thing is, I don't think he needed to do it. Jacoby placed the ball perfectly. It was going perfectly.
Touchdown.
It was perfect backside shoulder if he was going right on the track he was. And he might have not been able to walk in to the end zone with it if he didn't do the push off, but he would have gotten down to the 1 or the 2. Like, which at that point in the game, like, that's fine.
At that point,
that's
Jacoby,
perfectly
hey,
fine.
you know how tall you are? Literally just do that.
Yeah, just like the best quarterback sneak player in league history,
Mhm.
Like, I mean, it's just like I felt like it was unnecessary from Amari, but I get why he did it. He felt like he was being uh, put in a spot where he wasn't able to make a play on the ball, which, hey, I get it. But just for me personally, that should be something that you go over with your coaches, like in a situational football. Hey, if I'm running on the sideline and a guy is clearly like grabbing on me and stuff like that, and I feel like I'm not able to get to the ball, should I like push him back? I feel like that's something you should be going over with your coaches about, like the receivers coach will say, hey guys, you're down within a minute, no penalties, no push-offs, no nothing. Got to play clean. Or if we get knocked back, we're screwed.
Mhm.
And it killed us. But not as much as that bullcrap false start. I mean, they had guys that shot. So their guys shot off the edge first. All right, our guy on the left-hand side did not jump first. It was their guys. We just didn't touch him first. That's at least how I saw it. So they jumped, but we had one of our guys take the tiniest of steps on the left-hand side of the line before we touched their guy who was offsides. So, like, it's just like, it's so dumb. I mean, I feel bad for Cade because it's just like, he was in a spot where he could have won it for us again, and he was perfect on the day. He was great. And then we get a bullcrap call against us like that. And then on top of that, I mean, it gets blocked. Like the
Well, I
kick gets
think it
blocked.
was to
And
tie, right? Wasn't it to tie the game?
yeah, it was going to be a tie.
Okay. Yeah.
Or wait, no,
So
it was.
still,
I think it was. No, it was
I
a
thought it
2-point.
was to tie touchdown to win. That's why so many people were pissed at
Oh,
Amari.
yes. I think you're right. Yeah, no, but he had an opportunity
It
to end the
doesn't
game.
matter. We
He
still
still,
didn't even
yeah,
have a chance.
no.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just unfortunate. But yeah, special teams, like I thought, it's just again, I mean, it's just the same message, honestly.
Mhm.
This week, I thought our special teams was the best it's ever been on the kick return, and the reason why is because we only ran it out once. Every other time, to let that ball bounce, baby. Don't even bother. Like, honestly, like if like I would just be like saying, "Hey, Mike, tell him to let the ball bounce on the end zone from now on, man.
Mhm.
We don't need to return it. We're fine starting at the 25. We know we are." Let me say this right now. I will get a tattoo of Mike Prefer's face on my ass if we get a single return touchdown this year.
Yeah.
A single, like, it's not
My
going to
money's
happen.
on the under on that one.
Yeah. No, it's just not going to happen. It's not, unless if we're playing an absolute, like, terrible team and we get, like, the luckiest of breaks. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen under this guy.
Unless while Jakeem Grant is sleeping, Jesus comes down from heaven and touches him on the whatever he tore.
I think it's ACL, yeah.
ACL. We're not.
No.
You know.
And
Which again, I'm not gonna rule out, but I don't think Jesus is a Browns fan. I would
no.
tend to think that.
Yeah. So, yeah. But special teams wise, it's just going to be the same conversation, really. Other than Cade York had a good game, and Yorkes is a fantastic punter. He's a fantastic punter. Wow. I mean,
Orquez, dude,
he's been the only bright spot in the special teams unit. Like, I mean, Cade York, I should say, he had his moment week 1 for sure.
Mhm.
That was a great bright spot. But other than that, like, it's been all Yorkes. But this past week was great week from Cade York. Offensively,
Oh boy. Every good conversation starts off with
yeah, right. So
it's like, how do we even get into it?
Yeah, well, it was first things first, it's the first time this season we've seen back-to-back bad offensive performances from Kevin Stefanski's offense. I want to reiterate that first things first, because I think it has to be noted that the offense up to this point has only had like 2 bad games. But then this game, it was not good. I think part of it's on Jacoby. I think part of it is Kevin, again, outsmarting himself. And let me say this right now. I fully believe Kevin Stefanski is one of the best offensive coaches in the league. He will get himself out. If he ends up losing his job here as the head coach of the Browns, it's either going to happen because he puts his trust into guys that don't deserve it, as far as like defensive coordinator and special teams coordinator, or it's going to be because he continually outsmarts himself and doesn't put the ball in the hands of his best playmakers. When Deshaun Watson comes back, I will have no problem with how he calls these games, with like, having the ball being in Jacoby Brissett's hands, or like eventually if that's Deshaun, I won't have a problem with it because you're putting the ball in the quarterback's hands to win the game. I mean, go for it. But like right now, he's using not Kareem Hunt. He's using Nick Chubb a lot. Like Nick Chubb is one of the most used running backs in the league right now. But he's not using the depth of the running back room. And that would be where I'm saying, like, I wish that we were using the depth of the running backs and imposing our will in the run game, because I feel like if we didn't lean on Jacoby as frequently in games like this game, where we got ahead early, it was a good start, and then we let them get back into it because our offense became stale. I want to see us like, if they load the box, which they did, they loaded the box, right? Which actually, that reminds me, before I continue on that, there are people upset that on the 3rd and 2, where we threw that ball to Amari, that we did not run the football. It was 100% the right play to throw it. If you look back at the stack box, they had 5 guys along the line, and they had 2 linebackers right along the line. We were not going to get anywhere running it unless if we had 8 offensive linemen on the field, which we did not. So it was the right play to have that throw go. It was the right play to throw. I understand from an outside perspective, it's 3rd and 2. You need the first down. You should be giving it to Chubb. And most of the time, I'd say you're right. But in that situation, no. The correct play was to throw it. And it was a good throw. It was a good throw. Amari beat his man, and Amari pushed off. Like, it's as simple as that. I wish it was more complex, because then, it might give us some more answers. But it's it was the right play call. It was the right play. It was the right decision from Jacoby. It's just it wasn't properly executed, and that's my number one criticism of Kevin Stefanski, is how he's executing on 4th down, how he's executing on 3rd down, and his when he decides to call these exotic plays that aren't necessarily what you're supposed to do. Like if it's like a 4th and 1, right? I want to see that ball going to Nick Chubb, or I want to see Jacoby Brissett sneaking in. And there have been times this year where he's gotten exotic and creative, and it's blown up in his face. And that's where, for me, if he loses his job here in Cleveland, that's going to be one of the things I look at and say, this is why.
Just make it simple. You have all the tools to make it simple.
You have one of the best running games the NFL has seen in a long time. Like, I think that if this team did better in the playoffs and went far, I think that league-wide, I think we would be looked at as having one of the best run games over the past, 3 years that the NFL has seen in a very long time. One of the best running games that, the NFL's ever had, legendary, because it is that good. I mean, where else are you seeing running backs easily getting 5+ yards per carry, right? 2 Pro Bowl guards. We had a Pro Bowl center for 2 years of it. Like, it's been one of the best run games the NFL's ever had. And I feel like it's not that bold to say that. I'm not saying that it's the best. I'm sure there are better teams out there, especially when you consider, before passing was, the new meta, right? Like the Adrian Petersons of the world and such were lighting it up, those guys at running back. So I wouldn't go that far, but it's just like, for me, it's just like he's outsmarting himself. Like, I want to see you just if we're gonna lose a game, right, or if we're gonna turn a ball over on a 4th down, I would rather have it be because we tried to run it up the middle and they made a play. They made a play. I don't want it to be we made a mistake. And too frequently, I feel like in big plays and in big opportunities, Kevin Stefanski's putting the ball in the hands of people that tend to make mistakes. So, but pass game wise, I mean, I feel like it's hard to judge just because Jacoby wasn't great. I mean, he was okay, but like it got so stagnant after that first quarter. Like, and they had it from there. We got a few plays in the 4th, which were great for us, but outside of that, I mean, they had us unlock the whole game. Game outside of the 1st and 4th.
I agree. Well, I mean, from what I saw, I agree because I didn't see much of anything. But anyway, so let's the Browns lose to the Ravens. Obviously, you guys know that, unless you're living under a rock or you're still asleep from last Sunday. Let's shift topics and let's talk about something that is not the Cleveland Browns. So, for anybody who is watching this, wondering why we have the Browns Stadium and Brownie the Elf as our background, this is a Browns podcast. I'm going to post this as a separate video as well. I'm going to leave it in the regular podcast, but I'm also going to make it a separate video because I want to talk about this. And me and Tristan were talking about this before we started recording, and I said, let's talk about it. So here we are. Anyway, the 2023 NFL Draft is definitely much, much better at the quarterback position than last year. There's no debate about that. But we were having a conversation on, are these guys overrated? And Tristan specifically brought up CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. I also want to talk about Hendon Hooker and Will Levis, or at least I'm going to talk about them. Tristan, you don't have to. It's up to you. But with that being said, I'll let you go first. What we were talking about pre-show, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
What are you thinking here?
Yeah, so as far as the other 2 guys that you said, outside of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, I have not done my homework on those guys. Excuse me. So I don't want to necessarily say too much. For me, the thing that I talked to Derek about that's sparking this segment, I don't think that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are going to be elite quarterbacks in the NFL. I just don't. CJ Stroud, I feel like he's not a great thrower of the football. And by thrower, I mean, I feel like he doesn't have good enough placement.
Oh boy, we are going to have a discussion here.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I just feel like, when I watch him play, he'll have his moments where he looks amazing. And he'll have his moments where it's like, wow, this guy's taking over this game. But then he has these moments where it's like, that ball is not at all where it's supposed to be. Like, that should have been an interception. That should have been, you should have gotten punished for this. Why are you throwing this there? And for a guy who, I mean, no doubt about it, he's leaving Ohio State after this year. I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, he almost has to, because he's going to be either the 1st or the 2nd pick in the draft.
He'll be top 3 for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So, but for a guy that's going to be picked that high,
I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah. And for me, Bryce Young, I don't know. I don't trust that. I feel like these guys, like, they're very talented. I want to make sure I say that first and foremost. And I could end up looking really dumb. And I want to preface that I could end up looking really dumb here. And I mean, we could look back on this in a year and you could be like, Tristan, like that was the dumbest thing you've ever said. And I would be like, absolutely, I should not have said this publicly. But I don't know. I just feel like these guys, like, I feel like with these guys, their game's just not going to translate in the NFL. I don't know why I get this feeling. I had this same feeling about, who was the quarterback? Sam Darnold. I had the feeling like everybody like made a big deal about Sam Darnold's pro day in the rain and everything like that, and he
Pro
had
days
that
don't
great.
matter. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
no, but there was a big deal made about that, and there was also a big deal made of the Rose Bowl game he had as a freshman, and when I looked at all of his tape together, it felt like what people were saying about him versus what I was seeing was not matching up. And that's what I'm saying. What I'm hearing about Bryce Young and CJ Stroud is that they're going to be elite quarterbacks in the league, going to be top 10 quarterbacks in the league within their first 3 years. And I look at them and I like, it's hard to compare these guys to compare them to NFL quarterbacks. But when I say, like, when I see the talent and I compare it to what I see as the top end talent in the NFL, I just don't see it. I just don't see it translating.
Okay. So, all right. Where do I even dive in? Let's start off with, I guess, my ranking of these top 4 that I named. I'll first of all say this. Anybody who's known me for a long time, I said that Josh Allen was going to be a bust. Clearly, I'm wrong. Clearly. I mean, you know.
I thought Josh Rosen was going to be amazing.
Same. Actually, that's funny. I thought Rosen was going to be great too.
You want to know what though? When it came down for me to like best quarterbacks in the draft, I had 2 guys who I said, okay, first overall pick, I wanted Baker Mayfield. Same. I felt like his accuracy and his arm strength were very good, and I thought, you know what? Yeah, that's my guy. And then I said to myself, if we're not going Baker, right? I didn't think it made sense for us to get Josh Rosen because Josh Rosen, he like publicly came out and said he didn't want to be a Brown, which funny enough, he ended up becoming one.
Because it was his only job. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I said, if we're not doing that, I'd rather us wait into like later first round, early second round. And I want to get Mason Rudolph. That was my guy. That was my other option.
I liked Mason too. I'm not gonna lie. Out of Oklahoma State. By the way, I'm not flipping you off. I'm adjusting my glasses. I think it looks like
I do the same thing, so you're fine. But yeah, no, I thought the big thing with me was Mason Rudolph's deep accuracy. I thought was valuable, and I thought, oh yeah, like that's huge. But look what I know, right? But yeah, keep on. You were going. You go.
You're good. So anyway, to what I was saying about Josh Allen, I thought Josh Allen was going to be a bust. Now, Will Levis compares himself to Josh Allen. I think Will Levis sucks, personally. I think he's not an NFL quarterback at all. I will admit, I have not seen a ton of Will Levis, so it's not like I've watched every single game. Versus like a CJ. I mean, if you're blind and you happen to click on this video, I am wearing Ohio State stuff. I'm a Buckeye. So I've seen plenty of CJ. Levis, I haven't seen a ton of, but what I have seen is not NFL talent at all, in my opinion. Again, it's my opinion, but I don't see it. So he's number 4th out of these top 4, and there's more guys on this list who I think could probably get into this top 4. McCall, and a couple others, but to me, I think if you're just going off these 4 guys I'm talking about here, Levis is 4th. 3rd is Bryce Young. 3rd is absolutely Bryce Young. I think he's really good, but he's not going to be the same in the NFL. He's not even the same in college right now. He's very good, but this is the worst we've seen Alabama play in many years. And it's because he doesn't have the crazy amount of weapons that he had the year prior when he won the Heisman Trophy. So again, it's not that Bryce Young is a bad quarterback at all. That's not what I'm saying. But for a guy who is a little bit undersized playing at Alabama, I don't see it. I don't see how he lasts in the NFL. For me, he's a little bit Tua-esque as far as the NFL, where I think he'll be decent on whatever team he goes to, but I don't think he can reach that next level. I think he's going to be one of these bottom mid quarterbacks in the NFL. And he does have the upside of his legs. He's very, very mobile, which again, when you talk about quarterbacks now in the NFL, mobility is becoming A and B. I mean, arm strength, accuracy, mobility. Those three are what people look at. He's definitely got the mobility. He does have an arm. I don't think it's crazy strong. He is accurate. I do like him. I don't like him as a top 10 pick, personally. I wouldn't take him in the top 10 at all. I think if you're a team who's got a quarterback already and he can sit for a couple years, or maybe not a couple years, but a year or so, kind of like what the Niners did with Trey Lance, I would think about it just based on upside. Because again, he is a high level recruit. He's a great kid. Very talented. I just don't see NFL talent personally. And that's just me. And you agree as well. 1 and 2 become interesting. And I'm conflicted, obviously, being a Buckeye. But let me tell you something right now. If the NFL draft was today and I needed a quarterback and I had the number 1 overall pick, it's not an easy answer. It is not an easy answer at all. In fact, I think it's about 45-55% right now as far as where I'm leaning. I want to tell y'all something right now. Hendon Hooker is the real deal. This guy is spectacular. There's always quarterbacks we've seen in the last few years who are a little bit older, who find their rhythm late in their college careers. Mac Jones, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield. There are guys, and y'all are going to laugh when I say Baker Mayfield, but let's be honest. Baker was older coming out. He was the number 1 overall pick. He was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. It wasn't because he sucked in college. Same thing with Joe Burrow. This is a guy who came to Ohio State in a loaded quarterback room. I saw his talent, but he never got a shot. Goes to LSU, struggles his first year, wins a national championship, and has probably a top 3, if not the best college football offense of all time. So there are guys who do catch on late. I want to make that clear. So don't think just because a guy hasn't been lighting it up his entire college career, that doesn't mean he sucks. Hendon Hooker is a monster. He, in my opinion, and it gets thrown around a lot, but Patrick Mahomes was not a crazy great college football quarterback. The Kansas City Chiefs saw what we see now, which is the athleticism, the ability to make off-target throws. He was smart. He still didn't know the entire game of football and offenses when he was in the NFL, and he's still probably learning. And by the way, he admitted that, so don't take that as me saying I know him or anything like that. I'm just repeating what he said. There's a certain level of ability that you cannot teach. Hendon Hooker has that. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes. I want to make that clear. But his mobility within the pocket and his ability to kind of find windows and hit guys is NFL caliber. It's very good. His arm strength is very, very good. His accuracy is very, very, very good. Hendon Hooker, I don't care if he's 25 years old. I think that's how old he is. You get him on a team with some weapons, he is going to be good. And I want to say this right now. Y'all see what I'm wearing. I'm an Ohio State fan. Love CJ Stroud to death. Hendon Hooker in his first 3 years in the NFL will be better than CJ Stroud. I'm telling you right now. There's a certain level of ability, like I said, that Hendon Hooker has that will carry him through his first few seasons in the NFL for whatever team he's on. Now, again, I know people will point to like Zach Wilson and say the same thing, but no, this is different. Like the NFL, you have to know the position. You have to be smart. You have to be able to go through your reads and understand defenses. We have not seen former top picks do that who are kind of late risers, but Hooker, in my opinion, is a guy who's going to come in day one and be very effective. I don't think this is a quarterback who you're going to say, oh, we can't see what he's going to do until 2 years in. This is a guy who's going to be very good day one. Now, with that being said, CJ Stroud, I love CJ Stroud to death. I think CJ Stroud is the best passing quarterback in Ohio State history, personally. In terms of, and I know you talked about it, and I'll get into what you said there in a second as far as the ball placement. But his ball placement and accuracy and arm strength when he is on is unmatched. When he is on, it is unmatched. I've never seen a quarterback throw into windows like CJ has thrown into. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate here that you phrased it better than how I put it, because that's exactly what I would say. Is he has his moments where, like, you watch him play. He reminds me of Baker Mayfield. Oddly enough, with at least his arm, at least with the turning on and turning off.
Okay,
let me say that, because when Baker Mayfield, when he was dialed in, there was not a throw in the NFL he could not hit. Not a single throw he could not hit. He could hit anything when he was on, when he was dialed in. But when he was off, he was off, and he hasn't been able to turn it on for about a year and almost 2 years now. So, that's what I would say. As far as a prospect, no, he's not the same as Baker Mayfield. Not close. Not even close. But, it's the consistency factor. I just, like, I don't see him as a consistent quarterback, and that's what worries me.
Okay. So I want to talk about the flaws of CJ Stroud for a second. CJ, again, he's a rhythm quarterback, which we've said about Baker Mayfield. So there's, a little bit of a connection there if you want to make it. But CJ is very interesting to me, because CJ has something that all the great Ohio State quarterbacks that I've seen haven't had. He throws guys open. Justin Fields, I love Justin Fields to death. I was so happy when we got Justin Fields to transfer from Georgia. But Justin Fields was throwing to wide open receivers. God rest his soul. Dwayne Haskins was throwing to wide open receivers. JT Barrett was throwing to wide open receivers. Like, we have consistently seen over the past X amount of years that you could say Ohio State had a good quarterback. Look at the receivers they were throwing to. You know what I'm saying? It's an endless list of NFL receivers. Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Michael Thomas. You can go down the line. Chris Olave now. Garrett Wilson now. There's just so many. And even the guys who aren't great in the NFL right now, they were really, really good when they were at Ohio State. Johnny Dixon. And there's Paris Campbell. But my point being here in saying this, CJ has the most talented group of wide receivers in college football yet again. He had the most talented group of wide receivers last year, and he has it even more this year. Because I sat here, I don't know if I said this on my channel necessarily, Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be an absolute monster. I saw it when he first arrived at Ohio State, his first time stepping on the field in some sort of game in the spring game. The dude at his size, to move how he was moving, knowing his pedigree with his background, I'm like, this dude is going to be an absolute monster. Like, he was making great catches then, and we didn't see much of him last year. But this year, he is the number one receiver. Don't let Jackson Smith-Njigba fool you. As great as he is, he's not the number one receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy here at Ohio State, and he will be next year. He'll be a top 10 draft pick at the wide receiver position. He's Jamar Chase. Like, you want to talk about who the next Jamar Chase out of college football is? It's Marvin Harrison Jr. Absolutely. I know I just went on a rant about
no, that's fine. That's fine. Go for it.
To this conversation about Stroud. He's got the guys to throw to, But at the same time, he does things, like I said, that no other quarterback that I've seen does. He hits guys. The ball is coming out of his hands before the receiver is open. That is an NFL thing. If you cannot do that, you cannot be great in the NFL. So CJ has that. He's got the pocket presence. He steps up and moves around in the backfield pretty well. Will he run? No. I don't know why. He's terrified. He hates to run. I don't get it. That is a major knock on CJ Stroud, because what I talked about with Hendon Hooker, mobility in the NFL now is such a massive, massive thing that he will be dinged for that. Like, if Hooker gets picked over Stroud, it is because of mobility, in my opinion. That's just me. But Stroud does have some inconsistency, like you said. If you can frustrate him and you can kind of get in his face early, he will struggle immediately, and he won't be able to get it going till a little bit later on. Penn State, what you saw last week, threw some kind of complicated blitzes at him and some simulated blitzes at him and got him off of his mark a little bit early. So when it comes to the NFL, I think CJ Stroud is a franchise quarterback. I think he's going to be great. But with that being said, he's going to need some time because he's not going to have these receivers. That's the biggest thing. Everybody's like, oh, look at – and Joe Burrow's a little bit different. Joe Burrow's got 50 billion receivers to throw to. And we'll talk about this Bengals game here in a second. But wrapping up this discussion, Stroud's not going to have that. Wherever he ends up going, he's not going to have a ton of receivers, most likely. I mean, I don't know who holds a number one pick or anything like that, but it's going to take time. So if you're going to judge quarterbacks based on their first 3 years, I think within the first year and a half, Hendon Hooker will look way better than CJ Stroud. I think after that, you're going to see Stroud start to come on. Justin Fields is in his second season halfway through, and he's just now starting to look competent, and he's making plays with his legs. Now, the Bears suck, but you get the point.
Yeah.
I think this quarterback class, I think there's 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks, and I don't think Bryce Young is one of them. I don't think that Will Levis is one of them. I think Grayson McCall out of Coastal Carolina might be one of them. I have to kind of dive deep into him a little bit more. But I think there's 2 guys, and I think there's one immediate starter who's going to have immediate impact, and I think there's another in CJ Stroud who's the franchise guy who's going to take time. So with that being said, let me ask you this, Tristan. Would you rather, and this is kind of the tough conversation, and this is what's going to be talked about draft time, and I'm sure I'll probably repeat this draft time.
Mm-hmm.
If you need a quarterback, would you rather go with a guy who is going to have an immediate impact with mobility, who has only had 1 year in college football being elite, who's a little bit older, or would you go with a guy who's younger, has had a more proven career in college football, and is more of an NFL passer, but you're going to need to develop him? That will be the question. Well, I mean, I really don't even know the answer to it right now. I don't.
I think that your answer will come down to who has the first pick, because I think a lot of it depends on scheme. I do. A lot of it depends on the coach, and it has to, because at the end of the day, if a coach feels as though one guy is going to fit his scheme and what he wants to do, who might not necessarily be the best player, but the other guy has more upside, you've got to go with a guy who you feel fits in with your coach, especially if you feel like that coach is the long-term solution. If it's a first-year head coach, you tell him, we're picking the better prospect. It's your job to develop him, your job to develop an offense around him. If it's an established coach, then you go for the guy who you feel like fits your scheme better. So, in the end, I think Stroud will probably be the first pick. But it's, again, you said it's a hard conversation. But, I was chuckling when you were talking about CJ Stroud, and the reason why was I don't know why, but all of a sudden in my head, I just thought about Bo Callahan.
See, Bo Callahan reminds me of Zach Wilson, the flashy kid that you can't miss on.
So,
But this is the thing with the draft. This happens every single year where you're going to have a team fall in love with somebody. And I can sit here, you can sit here and say, oh, well, that guy's got some talent, but he sucks.
Yeah, Bo
And
Callahan,
teams
baby.
can't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, Stroud's not that guy. Stroud will be a good NFL quarterback. Now the question is he going to be great? I see great all over Hendon Hooker. I'll be honest with you. I think he's going to be top 10 quarterback.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, but no, it's just like we got to get a toll on the teammates that went to CJ Stroud's birthday party, man. Like we got to do it. We got to do it. We got to get a toll on that, and we got to get a toll or a poll on or we got to see if he passes the money test with the film and the playbooks, So
before we move
make
on,
a decision on CJ Stroud.
Before we move on, somebody, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Coach Wilson when I met him. I don't know if it was him. I don't know. I'll give him credit, even if it wasn't him. There you go. I'll give you this one.
Yeah.
He said, or whoever said, that CJ reminds them of Joe Burrow in the way that they play football. I agree with that in the sense of the pocket presence and moving around in the backfield. But the difference between Joe Burrow and CJ Stroud is Stroud has the better arm. Burrow has the better mobility. So in the modern day NFL, I'd probably rather have the mobility. Probably. That's just me. But
well,
I don't know.
In football IQ wise, you can trust Joe Burrow to pick apart defense with his brain.
Exactly.
So, but even then, that's an even more controversial topic about how good is Joe Burrow because, it's a legitimate question. How good is he? But we won't get into that today. But yeah, man, I think this quarterback class is super, super interesting, especially when you consider, for so long it's been the two top guys at the top. And for me, I just see some flaws I don't like. But, time will tell. We'll see. But
did you see that? Why did my camera just flash?
I don't know. You glitched.
It's that Brownie the elf right. Nope, right there.
Yeah, right.
He's haunted.
Oof. Yeah, right. But
he said, "Stop talking about quarterbacks. We're Browns fans. We already got one."
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right. Well, then let's move on from the quarterbacks, Brownie the elf. Let's talk about previewing this Bengals game. This Bengals game for me. I know on the last podcast I said that you had to beat both the Ravens and the Bengals to have a shot. Because of Jamar Chase being out, and with him being out potentially long term, I think that you.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Hold on.
He's not going on. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, he's not going on IR. Like that's first and foremost. There was reports out that he was going to be going on IR. He's not. But he still might be out for a while. I'm pretty sure they ruled him out for this game at least. So, he is so huge to that offense that it's very, very interesting to see if he is out for a long period. They just don't put him on IR. That could open things up for the Browns. It really could, especially if they win. Because if they're 2-1 in the division, and we don't play any more division games until Deshaun's back. So, there could be a situation where the Browns end up finishing in the division 5-1. Now, the question is, if the Browns are able to be in that situation where they finish in the division 5-1, can we trust that they'll have enough wins outside of that to be ahead in the division, or at least tied in the division? Because at this point, I think hoping that you're going to get a wild card is off the table. I think it's far gone at this point. But I do think that there is a possibility. There's a possibility that they could take the division. So, but it all comes down to this game. And I said we have to win the last 2 games. This is like, if you lose this, your season is officially 100% dead. It's done. It's over. So, Derek, hit me, man. What are you thinking?
Well, first things first, I would like to give a special shout out to my favorite thick friend, Austino. Thank you very much for trading me Tyreek Hill for Jamar Chase straight up, because the day after that trade happened, Chase gets hurt and Tyreek Hill put up 31 points today. So thank you very much.
That poor guy.
No, he'll
Man.
get over it. He'll get over it. He'll go drink some Twisted Teas on a table and fall again. Oh wait, I'm probably not supposed to say that. Anyway, insert clip here. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that.
Don't do that. Then just like actually inserts the clip.
Exactly. Oh, bro, he probably wouldn't care that much, but oh my god, I can't do that. That is, I will tell you though, that is the funniest clip I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a grown man on a table drinking Twisted Teas just die in like 3 seconds. You ever seen that video of that big fat lady who's on the table and it falls and it
and it goes
yeah.
Yeah.
So picture a thick white man with long hair and a beard drinking a Twisted Tea. That is the video. Anyway, I'm so sorry, Austino. I'm so sorry for this. Nobody's going to be watching it a minute or an hour 15 in, but I would like to publicly apologize to you. You do not deserve this. Now, with that being said, this is your daily reminder that Tony Battaglio has my initials on his arm, and he does deserve it. So sorry to you, Austino, but Tony, my initials are still on your arm. Anyway, the Bengals game, I think we're going to get destroyed anyway. I'll be honest with you. I know that's a little bit of a sorry answer to this preview, but to me, it doesn't matter if Jamar Chase is out. T. Higgins is way better than people think. Tyler Boyd is really, really good. The offensive line for Cincinnati is somewhat starting to get things together. I just don't. I mean, I agree with you. If you lose this game, it is absolutely over. But you have a couple things on your side. Joe Burrow's not beating the Browns. Jamar Chase is out. The defense played better last week, according to you. I'll take your word for it because I didn't see it. So
yeah, they did.
So you have things going your way, but I have no reason to believe that you're going to be able to stop the pass game. I just don't. With our coverages and our secondary and how they played this year, I have no faith. It's what it comes down to for me.
I mean, we've had good success when we've manned up against the Bengals in the past, which that's the thing. If you can get Denzel back, playing 100%, I should say, I feel like there's a chance that you could lock up that wide receiving room. But again, I mean, it's just like it's hard
even with
like,
Mixon will tear you apart too.
Yeah, so it's just like it's tough. It's like and not only that, but the Bengals defense is good. Like it's a good defense. So it's like it would have to be one of our most complete games of the year for us to come out and win that ball game. And I'm not saying it's impossible for us. I'm not saying that we can't do it, but it would be very hard, especially when you consider everything that we've gone through to get to this point. I just can't. I mean, Derek, I cannot fathom the fact that we, after this game, could be a 2-6 football team. A 2-6 football team. Like that's.
Hey, guess what? At least we have the number 5 pick in the NFL draft. Oh wait, never mind.
Oh wait, yeah, right, yeah, no. Oh my gosh, if that pick is a top 10 pick, oh man, I'm just gonna be like sick. I'm gonna be sick to my stomach, man. Which, like, here's the crazy thing about this whole thing, right? If the defense gets hot, right, and they start to get it together and start playing okay, and the Browns can do just enough where Deshaun comes in, takes over, he lights it up, and we win the division. Like, we could have a Bengals run ourselves like they did last year. Like, if
Maybe.
everything is clicking. Yeah, if everything's clicking, it's possible. I'm not going to say it will, but it's possible, right?
The only saving grace of being terrible we're joking about the draft, but the only saving grace would be, because we do have our second round pick, by the grace of God, if somehow we landed Marvin Mims in the second round with a top second round pick, then I would be like, okay. Because then we would have a number one receiver replacement. Which I know, yes, we need defensive tackle. Yes, we need offensive line. Yes, we need linebacker and safety. But
let me say this. I disagree about linebacker. I think that if we retain Anthony Walker or Deion Jones, I think we'll be okay.
We do need to replace like Taki's going to be out the door here shortly, probably, unless they re-sign him.
I think he still has a year left. Or no, this is last year, isn't it?
This is his last year because he was in the Grady draft.
Oh, damn. I really hope we bring. I actually like him.
I do too. I would give him a 3-year deal, cheap.
Yeah, like 3 years, $2.5 million per is what I would shoot for if we could do that. But
because with the right DC who knows how to use him, he could be effective. He absolutely could be.
He could be very good. Yeah. So, and I mean, yeah, it's, for me, the two big ones are free safety and D tackle. Because if you fix those two spots, everything else fits together like a puzzle piece, and we know that everything else around it is good. So for me, if you get those two spots, I'll feel very, very good.
I think free safety is coming in free agency.
I think free agency or a trade. I think. I think I still strongly feel Eddie Jackson's the best as far as like what with the draft capital that we have. It doesn't make sense for us to go out and trade a lot for one position and one guy. And on top of that, we could sign somebody, but signing somebody, I'm not a huge fan of what's available for free safety this offseason. There's a couple there that are solid, but they're going to command a lot of money. So it's like, I think Eddie Jackson is a nice.
How long did Malik Hooker sign for? Is he on a 1 year?
I think so.
Go get Malik Hooker. Go get Malik Hooker.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I might even want to sign him regardless, because if Eddie Jackson gets hurt, then we're in the same spot that we're in now. Like if we got Eddie Jackson. So yeah, get Malik Hooker regardless. I mean, even if he's going to barely see the field, like you need quality depth. Let
me tell you something. If you got Malik Hooker and you played hypothetically speaking, if you played John Johnson and Grant Delpit middle to up in the box and you just let Hooker kind of flow in the backfield, because at Ohio State, that's what he did. That's why he had so many picks. He literally just sat back there, read the quarterback. He's not the same guy in the NFL, obviously, but with the defensive backs that we have, if you use everybody in the right position and you bring him in, he can be very decent as a starter, at least. Better than what we have now.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But yeah, and the tackle, man. I mean, dude, we really, it's like, I think if we had just two guys that we could trust in the run game, we would have a very, very good D line. Like, honestly, we probably only need one D tackle, just because I think one of Perrion or one of our younger guys will step up and fill that second spot. And I expect Perrion to, because
we need a vet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We need veteran help. If anything taught you, or why do I not know English? If last year taught you anything, Malik Jackson, Malik McDowell, were they great? No, but veteran presence helps.
They were effective. They were average. Like that's the thing. Like we don't need anything more than average out of the D tackles. And I honestly like. I even still think right now, if you sign Ndamukong Suh, like the D line looks night and day different because you have the rotation of guys next to him, and he's so solid, at least against the run. It's just like, you can trust that he'll be solid against the run, and it would instantaneously make your D line just flow and work better, in my opinion. But he's more of a 3-4 than a 4-3, so I could see why, like, it might not work right now.
Yeah, but you can get around that. Just move him around.
Exactly. That's my thought too. But yeah, but either way, D tackle, free safety needs addressed. And I'm going to wait before I say wide receiver, just because I want to see what Deshaun Watson looks like with Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I'm not going to wait. I've seen it too many years in a row.
But here's my thing with DPJ. I think that DPJ, when he's been able to have an elevated role in the offense, right, post Odell, right, because it's post Odell that we're talking about, he has had an opportunity, right? He's had one little stretch with Baker, but he really wasn't. It was Rashard Higgins that was the guy that filled in for Odell. So for me, he's never had the opportunity to truly be a number 2 guy with an elite quarterback. And I almost wonder if you give Donovan Peoples-Jones the opportunity with Deshaun, I wonder if that's like a match made in heaven. Like, Will Fuller was not anything special in the league, right? And then he got paired up with Deshaun Watson, and he looked absolutely amazing. So I almost wonder if, do you see that same thing with Donovan Peoples-Jones? And if you do see that same thing, he's on such a cheap deal, and it allows you to invest in other spots on your team that I think it makes a lot of sense to just stick with him and not necessarily. I think you got to address the depth of wide receiver.
Well, let me say this. I think the reason why I say Marvin Mims is because he is so overlooked because of how terrible Oklahoma is. He's an elite receiver.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of these elite receivers that are going to fall.
Yeah, and I'd say, like, if you have a guy that's undeniably talented at that position, is going to be good, then sure, draft a guy. That's fine. I'm not against drafting a wide receiver. My big thing is don't go out and spend lots of money and cap space on a wide receiver until you know for a fact that Deshaun Watson, like, this is, for me, the big thing about this wide receiver room is Deshaun. Who looks good when we close out the year with Deshaun? Because I'll say this right now. If Anthony Schwartz doesn't light it up with Deshaun Watson, I think that he's a cut. And listen, you heard me defend Anthony Schwartz on this podcast. You've heard it, but he is, it's year 2 for him, I'm pretty sure, right? Year 2 or year 3? I'm losing my mind. Year 2. And he's in the middle of year 2. And I would have thought for sure at this point, especially with the inconsistencies at times that we've had in the wide receiver room, that he hasn't stepped up. Like, at this point, if he doesn't look great under Deshaun, I think he is probably going to be cut. I mean, we're going to have to find roster space for Jakeem Grant, because Lord knows we are going to have that man on the roster. We're going to have him on the roster for sure. David Bell's going to be on the roster for sure. I like this slideshow you're doing right now.
Just trolling people who are still watching.
But, there's guys on the roster right now. Like, even Michael Thomas.
I'm so sorry. I'm interrupting you.
Mike Woods, I meant, not Michael Thomas. Oh, I wish we had Michael Thomas. Slant boy.
I'll take slants.
I believe, absolutely. Are you kidding me? But no. Like, Michael Woods is probably going to be on this roster still. Like, there's some young guys that you've invested into that have shown enough where it's like, give them some time. Let's see what we can do. I think that Anthony Schwartz is really close to being out the door. I think if he doesn't do something with Deshaun, I think his career is over. I don't think teams are going to take a shot on him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be like John Ross. You might get one team that thinks that they can do something with him, and then they're over it. So, you know.
I agree.
And then I'd look to bring in solid depth, like maybe Rashad Perryman.
Dude, I don't understand why people didn't want us to sign him back when he started or when he became a free agent again.
He was awesome.
He was good.
Dude, it just sucked. It sucked for him because he wanted the opportunity to start, and we traded for OBJ. Which, I mean, hey, listen, man. The money you can make as a number 1 or number 2 guy versus the money that you're making as a third option, complete business decision for him, and I think it still was worth it. But now that he's 100% a depth piece, and he now knows it. But now that he's 100% a depth piece and he knows it, I think. Sorry, the gloves. It's the gloves.
I know.
Why the hell?
Number one receiver right there, Freddie Kitchens.
Oh man, this is awesome. But
it's all right. We could sign this man at D tackle. He played D tackle.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he might do better than what we've got there right now. So, but yeah, I think that. God damn, you got me so off.
I know. I'm sorry.
Where was I? God damn it, Derek.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Rashad Perryman. I think as a solid depth guy and like a third or fourth receiver, yeah, that's a good guy to get. I think you got to solidify your depth this year in every position. You know which guys you can trust. You know which rookies are not good enough and which guys you're letting go. At this point, I think Taven Bryan, it's safe to say, is going to be walking at the end of the year. I don't anticipate us signing him back. Let's see. I think you keep Tommy Togiai because of position, like situational football. Mm-hmm. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Tommy's not
and in situations, I think he's useful to have.
If the room was better, he would be better.
Yes, I agree, because we would see him in more advantageous positions for him because, I mean, he has his strength in run blocking and run defense. I think that's his biggest strength, but he's not a down-to-down guy. He's not a down-to-down guy. I think Jordan Elliott, I mean, at this point, if we get an upgrade over him, I mean, I just don't think he's shown enough to warrant. Like, there are guys younger than him in that group that I think are just better, or at least have more potential, like Perrion. Yeah, that D tackle room after this year it's going to be very interesting. I think the two that you 100% probably will move on from at this point are Jordan Elliott and Taven Bryan for sure. I think you elevate Perrion into like a second D tackle role, and then you go out and get a proven veteran to put next to him.
I agree. Yeah. But anyways, we should probably wrap this up. I'm hungry. I'm going to go eat. So,
yeah.
You got anything else you want to add?
No, I'm just exhausted from talking about this team, man. I wish there was much more energy behind.
Did you notice the energy when we started talking about college football and that?
Oh, I know. Yeah, because it was so interesting and intriguing. Yeah, no, now it's just like, let me just fall back into my shallow wall or whatever, self-pity or shallow hole, or I don't know. I'm losing my mind. This is what this team does to me. I lose my mind. I can't think straight. So,
yeah. So, all right. Well, with that being said, that's it for me. I'm going to go eat leftover Mexican food. So, anyways, everybody, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and look forward to the Browns ruining a Monday. So have a good one.
They always do.